Hello, I'm John Brown, and this is my project for Dr. Horn's Technology Applications in Educational Leaders class. The article is entitled Investigating Practices in Teacher Education that Promote and Inhibit Technology Integration Transfer in Early Career Teachers. It was published in Tech Trends in 2016. And the authors are Amy M. Brenner of Averett University and Jennifer M. Brill of Virginia Tech University. And I was sort of drawn to this because of my own interests in public policy and its impact on education, going back to my own background in political science. And the purpose of this study is to determine what technology applications and strategies that are taught in teacher education programs actually find their way into classrooms later on. As everybody knows, there's been a huge technology revolution over the past 25 or 30 years, particularly with regards to computers and the internet. And in response to this, beginning in the early 1990s, there's been a great deal of time and resources dedicated to helping pre-service teachers use technology in their K-12 classrooms. It's been integrated into their educational programs. We know a lot about what strategies have been used to do this and what technology has been encouraged, but we don't know much about how much of this information has transferred into actual use in actual classrooms. In other words, we know that teachers are being taught this during their study, but we don't know how much of it they later utilize in their classrooms. And so what the authors are doing here is trying to determine which instructional technology integration strategies and practices in pre-service teacher education actually make their way into classrooms. In order to find this out, Brill and Brenner focus on three questions. The first one is, how do early career teachers assess themselves with regards to technology integration knowledge, skills, and practices? Second question, what technology integration barriers do early career teachers manifest or experience? What are the identified sources of these barriers? And three, what practices in their pre-service teacher education do early career teachers identify as supportive or prohibitive of technology integration in their classrooms? For study, the authors begin with a literature review, as is usual procedure, and they consult the research that's been conducted in this area before. There is not a great deal of research into these specific questions. So Brenner and Brill consult studies concerning the concept of transfer and transfer principles. And they also consult studies dealing with best practice technology integration models, as well as exemplary technology integration programs. From their review of the literature, they glean 9 technology integration factors, which they will then use as the basis for their data collection. And 9 technology integration transfer factors fairly quickly. The first is meaningful activities. Did the activities used during the education classes help me as a teacher to use technology in the K-12 classroom? Expert guidance. Were there experts to help me in using technology? Knowledge building guidance. Did faculty members provide experience in learning how to integrate technology, and did it gradually get harder as we went along as a means of building skills? Authentic hands-on activities. Did I get practical experience using technology? Authentic contexts. Did I have the opportunity to integrate technology into real K-12 classrooms during my field experience? Modeling effective use of technology in content-specific areas. Did professors teach content area courses modeling how to integrate technology? In other words, did they use technology effectively in courses such as math or history or English? And if so, did they do it in a way where I can use them as models for integrating technology into my own courses in those areas? Opportunities for collaboration. Did I have the chance to work with others on doing this with technology? opportunities for practice and experimentation with technology. Was I required to incorporate technology into some of my lessons? And last, reflection upon learning activities that utilize technology. Was I able to reflect on the use of technology during my studies? Methodology that Brenner and Brill used I thought was pretty interesting. They used both quantitative and qualitative methods. It consists of a two-phase strategy. First, they conduct surveys to gather data, and then afterwards, in the second phase, they do follow-up interviews with some of the respondents. The survey asked participants to rate themselves along adoption measures, which have been established by Nezik in 2000, specifically the stages of adoption and the concerns-based adoption model, or CBAM. The sample population, people they surveyed, were early career teachers who had completed a graduate-level education program through a specific, undisclosed school of education at a large U.S. university between the years of 2008 and 2010. They focused their technology integration practices on teachers during their second to fourth year of teaching, and both male and female teachers were surveyed. Results. What did they find? In their self-assessment, the overwhelming majority of these teachers reported high levels of adoption and transfer on the stages of adoption and CBAM measures, 87% and 88% respectively. So overwhelmingly, they rated themselves highly on these models. The respondents reported they were proficient in advanced features of email, digital images, using web browsers, digital spreadsheets, smart boards, and digital presentations. However, they reported they were less proficient on web design, digital video, and digital media, which probably isn't a surprise, as I would say, in my opinion, those are more advanced than the previous three. The respondents also assessed themselves as being proficient and independent users of instructional technologies. In gathering this data, authors also found that teachers reported the following barriers or problems with integrating technology into their classrooms. The first is they already have too much content to cover, so it's difficult to add more when they barely have time to cover what they're required to. They have a lack of time to create and implement technology-based lessons. Lesson planning is a long process, takes a lot of time. Technology, they may look at it as just something more on top of that, which makes it difficult. And lack of software available at their schools. This may be budgeting problem or priorities problem, but they lack the software. And I don't think anybody is going to be surprised by either one of these three barriers. The asked for recommendations on how to remove these barriers, and they came up with two suggestions. The first is education faculty should ensure teachers in training are aware of technology requirements and take part in integrating technology via in-service and participating schools. So during their education, pre-service teachers should be sent out to schools in which technology is effectively used and observe and take part in that as a means of gaining experience. Also suggests that universities provide mobile instructional technologies that pre-service teachers can borrow and take with them to schools to utilize. The study, as Brenner and Brill themselves point out, has some limits. No surprise, all studies do. But the limits they point out are they sent out 330 surveys. They sent an additional 2 reminders to encourage people to fill them out. And out of 330, they only got 24 respondents who actually took the time to fill out their survey. And even less than that, they only got 5 who took part in the post-survey interview. Also, so it's a very small pool. The pool is also pretty narrow because only early career teachers from a specific university that offers graduate degree programs were included. So are teachers who don't go through the graduate program, is this applicable to them? Questionable. Is it applicable to teachers that go to other universities? Questionable. The participants were also guaranteed anonymity too, so there's no way to follow up now unless you're the authors. In spite of these limitations, the contributions of the study are that it provides empirical findings related to support of and barriers to transfer of knowledge and skills in the classroom, provides recommendation supported by research and the literature on how to improve their programs, and these methods can be used by future researchers. And actually, in my opinion, that last part is probably the best contribution, because this is a pretty sound research method, I believe. It's just would be better if we had a wider pool, more respondents from more different backgrounds. Thoughts on this? I have some concerns about this study. Probably some of the biggest one is how low the response rate is. I think we need more than 24 respondents to make it more applicable. Now, as someone who's done survey research before, I certainly sympathize with this. Getting people to respond to surveys is very, very difficult, so I understand that. Not criticizing, but I think the authors too would agree that it would be better if we had more study of different levels of education. How do elementary school teachers do with this? How do middle school teachers do with this? How do high school teachers do with this? When you only have 24 respondents, you can't really break it up like that. But if you had a bigger pool, then I think you could. Self-assessments, this can be somewhat problematic too, because the people tend to overestimate their own knowledge and their own expertise on an area. So if you're asking someone how well they do, you're just basically getting their opinion of themselves. Of course, this is a problem that I don't really know what the solution would be. So just something, other than actually observing them in their classroom, which even that's going to be problematic too. So not really a major problem, just something I thought should point out. And overall, though, I think this is a good study. It's a very important topic. I think definitely this sets a foundation for future researchers and future studies to look at and try to expand on some of their findings. This is important as we continue. Certainly, we're going through an era of education reform now. Information like this would be useful for policymakers in reforming our education program. And here's the article itself, the information. If you're interested in this, I would definitely recommend you take the time to look it up and read it. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer them. But I appreciate you taking the time to listen to this presentation. I hope you enjoyed listening to it as much as I enjoyed producing it, and I hope you have a great day. Thank you.